datingwhileadulting.com. I guess you heard that in the intro, so there's no need to repeat it. Thank you all for coming back. It must be something about it that keeps you coming back, and we appreciate that, whether it's loyalty, whether it's support of myself or Reggie, or if it's actually, that you actually like the show. I don't really care what it is. Either way, tell 50 people to tell 50 people, and we'll get our own Susu thing going. And
Susu.
that's right. I don't even know if it's Susu or CC. I honestly don't even know what it's really called, but I just call it Susu. But people know what I'm talking about because every, especially Black person in the world, has been a part of that mess. But anyway, that's myself. I am Michael, and the other voice that you heard just a couple seconds ago, that's Reggie. Say hi, Reggie.
Hi, Reggie.
And like I said before, thank you for coming back to the Dating While Adulting podcast. So we are going to get into our topic today. Oh, before I get into the topic, because of course I have to like bring up some stuff that I just like to bring up just because it entertains me. One of the things, I was having a conversation with a woman, and it was funny because, and I think we might have alluded to this in past podcasts, but it's funny how when women get in their feelings about a dude, or if they don't like a dude or whatever it is, automatically they declare him to be unattractive. And and men don't have that problem. Like I said, it's something we mentioned in the podcast, but I think it's worth mentioning it again because it was funny to me having that conversation. And what brought it up, what prompted it was, I was, like I said, I was having a conversation with a friend, and I had the nerve to bring up Ivanka Trump. And Ivanka Trump, which led to Stacey Dash, and the friend I was talking to was just utterly disgusted with me. The fact that I would dare find either one of them attractive. And I was just like, yo.
What? You find them attractive, Michael? What is wrong with you?
Hold up, you don't?
I mean, I'm just, that's my sarcastic.
I was about to say. And once again, because I caught a little flack for this, but it's worth mentioning, Stacey Dash, 53 years old, still getting it done. I don't care what
you're gonna get shot. You're gonna get yourself shot.
look, and I've heard several women come at me like on some unrealistic expectations, and I'm not saying that you have to be Stacey Dash or Salma Hayek, who's still posting pictures out here, or any of these other women, but it just shows that it can be done. Why can't it be done by you? Okay, that's enough.
I'm not touching that because apparently I have COVID weight right now. So the running, as you can tell, I have my running gear on. The running starts today because Reggie don't like fat.
Reggie, I'm not knocking the hustle, but you said the running was starting like 2 weeks ago.
And well, it did, but you know, when you're 51, sometimes the wheels don't work exactly after you go for a run. So, you know, you have to heal up a little bit more. You know, do those stretches and those warm-ups and stuff, which, you know, I never did when I was younger, like last year. But now, after sitting on my fat ass for the last at least year, just going out there thinking I can run 12 pounds heavier, not the smartest thing in the world.
Okay, so what we're hearing right now is Reggie actually sympathizing with women. So
no, I'm not sympathizing. Get your fat ass out there. No, I'm not sympathizing. Get your fat ass out there, like I'm getting my fat ass out there and do some laps.
Okay, and that's the Reggie I know and love. And then notice I said Reggie I know and love because I don't know how many women love him, but besides his wife,
that's debatable too.
Right. But speaking of your wife, but not speaking of your wife, we're going to use that to transition into the topic for today. And we're going to actually talk about something that Reggie knows a whole lot more than me, which is very little, but in this case, it's a lot. He knows marriage. And so he can speak to this a little bit more than I can because I am not married. I've never been married. And I still believe I will be married. But hey, until that magical, mystical day happens, I'm going to have to defer to Reggie on this. And the reason we're having this conversation today isn't necessarily to talk about marriage, but it's interesting to me. It comes from a conversation that I had with a couple, and this was a while ago, and the couple shall remain nameless. Actually, it happened 2 times. And then I started to explore and notice it happened a lot more often than I ever thought. Because you know how it's funny when you have conversations with somebody and you don't really pay attention, and then it happens more and more, and you're like, this is like a trend.
No, not really.
That's all right. It's just me. But I was having a conversation with a couple And oftentimes, being a single person, I oftentimes get a lecture from the wives about why I'm single. And it's like, you should be married. And it's like the wives are always the ones trying to recruit me into the married people's club, which is sweet. Sometimes they'll try to set you up. Sometimes they'll like try to give you advice. Sometimes they'll criticize you for what you're not doing and what you need to be doing more of so you can get into the club. As if marriage is the utopia, the ideal place of where your journey needs to end. But on a couple of occasions in particular, I've been in groups, we've had that conversation, and when the wife leaves the room, the man will look at me and say, "Don't do this." Reggie's not one of those people, so I'm not throwing him under the bus, but I have had that happen, like I said, 2 times in particular. But it led to me exploring this. And as I started to examine more and more marriages, it seemed as though there was an inequity in how happy the husband was versus the wife. Okay. So Reggie, married man.
You're about to get the divorce papers started.
Right. You don't have to speak about your own situation. I'm just saying, you're a married person, you interact with more married people. Do you find from my single perspective that I am off on this?
No, you're not off on this.
Okay, cool. I'm trending in the right direction. Okay, so I started to examine from there single relationships versus married relationships. And before I get into the conclusion that I came to, I will ask Reginald, why do you think there is an inequity between the husbands and the wives and the happiness level?
To put it in an analogy, which I like to do, so you buy this new car that has all the bells and whistles and stuff like that as advertised. So you put the money down and all this other stuff. Then you get it home and realize that it's not the same car. Or to put bluntly, you bought a Corvette and you end up with a Mustang engine.
Okay, a Mustang is still a Mustang engine is good.
No, you didn't buy no. If I wanted a Mustang, I will. If I wanted a Mustang with a Mustang engine, I would buy a Mustang with a Mustang engine, not a Corvette with a Mustang engine.
Okay. Okay. So
So you think you get in a Mustang, right? Oh,
okay.
actually, I'll put it this way. This is a better analogy, particularly since we have, you go on Amazon, you get these Instagram. Well, no, this is actually better because it actually happened to me. So you're on Instagram and you get these advertisements for certain things, and this nice dish strainer stuff that's supposed to help you dry your dishes better, and it looks all great. So you order, oh, okay, and then you get it, and it's about this freaking big. Oh, you can't see me in podcast, but it's like 2 inches versus the fact that I can't even put a teacup in this thing. I just paid $15 for this shit. That's how marriage is.
Like back in the day, or even now, when they show you these like fast food commercials and the burgers look like as big as the TV screen, and you get them and they can
exactly
fit in the palm of your hand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I get that. So basically, what it comes down to, and I think I don't really need to explain that. It seems pretty obvious what you're saying is basically it's like you're not getting what you pay for. You're not getting what um, you're not getting
you were told. Yeah, you were told you're not getting what you were told you're going to get.
Okay, so let me ask you this question: do you believe that it's because people grow and mature and evolve as they get older? Do you believe, and I know I'm setting you up, do you believe that it's intentional on the part of the spouse when they're dating?
You mean the
And
woman? Yes.
so basically what you're saying is you believe that women intentionally lie or
Yes.
deceive men to marry them, and then they show their true selves.
Yes. And of course, not all, but yes.
Okay. Because Here's the thing that is funny to me.
Hold up, I can tell you why.
No, yeah, please do.
Um, in my opinion, I will say humble, but people know me. I'm not humble. They have an agenda like anyone else. They have these goals like anyone. So they have these goals to be married and have babies. Once those goals are accomplished, they it's nothing else to work for. So it's not like, in their mind, they're talking about, I want to have a happy, successful relationship. Therefore, the work is a progress. It's always continuing. They just have, I want to get married and I want to have babies. And everything else is supposed to just magically work itself out in the universe, like a Daniel Steele novel or one of those romantic comedies. And there's no other work done. But they put all this effort to make sure that you put that ring on that finger. And then after that, you have babies. And then their attention goes from the husband and the marriage to the babies.
Okay. That's interesting. And for people who are used to me pushing back on Reggie when he kind of goes off like this, it's hard for me to push back in this case because I am not the married one. And from the conversations that I have with men who are married, not all men, obviously, because honestly, I only know like one man who's happy in his marriage. Well, I know some. Forget how many I know in verses, because I don't want anybody listening to this be like, shoot,
he
you're not
talking
happy?
about me.
Yeah, going back to their husbands and stuff and like jumping down their throats. I don't want any drama coming back to me or this show.
Because it's gonna happen. You already did it. You
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. But for the women that will go back and jump down their husbands' throats, I appreciate you all for listening. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, but I can't push back because that's his thing. And when I talk to married men, that again, when I talk about the inequity and happiness, and they seem less happy than their wives and stuff like that, it does. When I ask more questions, it does kind of lead to that type of explanation. Now, it's not as crude and as crass as Reginald's is.
Wow, really?
But it's like a softer version of it. They'll talk about how she might have changed and how things are different. And sometimes guys will excuse it as, well, when you get married and stuff, things change and stuff like that. And I think that's where that whole happy wife, happy life thing came from, because it's like, look, because nobody says happy girlfriend, happy girlfriend, happy relationship. I've never heard that before. I've never heard such an emphasis being placed on the woman's happiness at your own
expense,
except for marriage.
Well, actually, I've heard something recently that someone told me. A good friend of mine told me that when they hear the word, and I'd love to have a podcast on this one. What does the words "I love you" spoken to you mean to you conceptually? Because she told me when a man tells her that he loves her, that means he would sacrifice everything for her. And so I questioned back. So what would you do? Like, Like, what you mean by
Let me make sure I'm clear on this. So if he tells her that he loves her, that means he's supposed to sacrifice everything. But if she tells him that she loves him, she's not supposed to sacrifice everything?
That's the gist of it, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And I guess that plays again into that happy life, happy wife thing.
Yes, that's why I brought that up. Also, and also these whole going back to the whole change thing, because we've had this conversation offline a lot. And we had this last podcast, a lot of guys, once you get past a particular past the 6-month mark, on average guys, normal guys, you know who that guy is. So, we do grow and there are little subtle changes, but you're not gonna get a complete 180 with a guy. He's not gonna get married and become a totally different person. That's very rare. That's very rare. Women, I just use a very superficial example. So you're dating and stuff like that, and me and you like fitness. So like today, I gotta get my fat ass out there and run. So you're dating and say, "Oh, let's go for a run with your girlfriend," and she'll go for a run. And you're doing all these things and blah blah. You dating for 2 years and say, "Okay, this is the one. She likes to do fitness stuff on her own," and blah blah. And then you get married. And then After the honeymoon phase, you go, oh, hey, babe, let's go run. I don't feel like running. What you mean you don't feel like running? It's okay, just a bad day. You know, she had a bad day at work, or blah, blah. But then you start to notice the trend where she's no longer doing any fitness stuff. She's just sitting on the couch eating bonbons. So those 2 years you were courting, she was in the gym, she was running, you guys were frolicking like two, can't use that.
Frolickers.
Yes. And you're like, yeah, this is my soulmate. She loves to do the fitness thing like I do, which is, but when she gets settled, she gets comfortable. She understands that you are locked in. Her true nature comes out. I've heard this many times before because at one point in my life, I didn't want to believe it. Women would adapt to whatever the man likes and his interests are to secure the relationship. But once the relationship is secured, they revert back to whoever they really are. That's why I have the. That's why I have the idea that yes, they lie intentionally.
Well, I don't know if I'll say they lie intentionally, but I'm not dispute. Yeah, that's kind of rough. But what I will say is that
Wait a
um,
minute. Whoa. Let's back up. How can you not say they don't lie intentionally when the interest that they are doing with you, they're making you believe that they like the same thing, but they don't.
well, I think just what I push back on is just a generalization on it. To say that they implies all, and that's
No,
the
no, no,
only
no.
thing I'll push back on.
No, no.
Um,
I'm gonna say no, no, no. I'm not saying all, but I would say majority.
yeah, I got you. But the thing that's interesting about that is once they get into relationships, how they kind of like lose contact with their friends, like stuff like that. They kind of lose themselves, and as a result, they adopt the what the man wants to do. And then maybe later on down the road, whether it's relationship or marriage, then they start looking at it and be like, I gave up myself for him when it was a conscious choice that you made. And as such,
So
maybe
so let's go back. Like I said, it's an intentional lie. I'm not saying it's malicious. I'm not saying this because you said exactly what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's malicious, but it is a conscious choice for them to do that. And this is true. I do believe that. Honestly, what you said, the issue that I have, particularly with me, particularly, is I'm analyzing. I said this throughout most of our podcasts. I'm analyzing and studying who you are. So when I actually say I love you, it is what I have observed over the months that I think that's who you are. So if you're adopting my hobbies and mannerisms and stuff like that because you lose yourself in me, I'm going to have a false impression of who you are and fall in love with an image that's not representative of who you really are.
yeah, I agree with that. I guess the question is whether it's intentional or not. And that's what I don't know and what I want to give them the benefit of the doubt on.
No, it's intentional. The better question is it malicious?
Okay. Is it deceptive?
Like I said, is it malicious? That one, I'm not going to. I don't think so. I mean, I don't think it's malicious. Not well in the normal cases. I don't think it's malicious, but it is intentional.
Because the different because it's like in this kind of dumbing it down a little bit, it's kind of like thinking about love, lust, infatuation is kind of like a hobby. It's like which Reggie has many of. Let's say that get this big fascination with playing video games, for example, which is weird for people of our age to talk about, but people still do, which boggles my mind. But hey, that's neither here nor there. But you have a infatuation with video games, you become obsessed with video games, and that's all that you want to do. And that's kind of the way I see it. But the problem is, it's at the expense of yourself. If you gain a hobby or something like that, it really doesn't matter because it's just a hobby. You don't lose who you are because you're a video game player. But for whatever reason, when it comes to love, and unfortunately, it seems to happen a lot more with women than men, at least from the way I see it.
Me too.
Yeah. Um, Women lose themselves, and it's just like, I just don't know if it's just like you don't think beyond this moment of love, lust, infatuation, or whatever you want to call it, into the future and think about, okay, this isn't sustainable. How are we going to make this happen long term, because what I find is that when I hear from these women that talk about they lost themselves in a man and all of that stuff, the next thing that comes from it is they start blaming the man for it. And it's like, that,
Exactly. That
oh,
was not his. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because unless the man told you, woman,
Give me a woman.
woman, unless you do what I want you to do, you like the stuff that I like, I'm going to leave you. And even if he says that, that's
That's still your
leaving you right
choice.
there.
Like I
Yeah.
say, it still goes back to, my basic understanding that women have all the power because we can't do anything outside of a physical realm to get you to do anything that you don't want to do. Therefore, these are conscious decisions that you make it. I'm not saying they're malicious or not, that's a whole different discussion. But going back to what we discussed earlier about the fact that women can have such a, and I applaud them for that tenacity of I want to be married, and they do anything and everything to accomplish that goal. But just as your point is, once they accomplish that goal, all of those habits and activities and that image that you portrayed to accomplish that goal now goes out the window because that goal is accomplished. But it's not like a fact that, oh, I want to get $50,000 so I can buy this new Acura. And you do all these things that's not within you to get that money. But the ultimate goal was you to have the Acura. It's not a long-term effect like getting married to someone to spend the rest of your life with.
Yeah. And this is one of those cases where I don't necessarily disagree with you. Matter of fact, I agree with you on
Oh my
a large
God.
percentage. I know, right? Which makes this one of the more uninteresting podcasts.
Actually, you know
That
what? Damn it. I just missed the damn lottery because of this. I'm mad at you. It's your fault. You made me do this.
yeah. But yeah, so it's like I don't disagree with you. The thing that I do kind of push back on, or not even push back on, but what I do, well, basically what I'm trying to say is I give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, you will say that they're doing that intentionally because the goal is to get married. I give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they're not necessarily doing it intentionally. It's just something that happens.
Nothing just happens. You know better than that. I mean, you're the cause and effect guy. That's some bullshit, I would say.
No, no, no. I just think that if you like somebody, you like somebody, and you don't think about the future oftentimes beyond marriage. In this case, you don't think about, okay,
People don't.
what do I need to do for my own health in making it work? Because you have to like look out for yourself first. And if I'm doing everything that this dude wants to do, that's not sustainable. I just don't think anybody that they think like that. Like, they just like, I like this now. And these things will lead to marriage. And then it's like, once you get married, it's like, okay, I don't really like this as much. And I guess you're saying that it's more of a conscious thing. It's like, it's funny how, I guess what you're saying is it's funny how they realize that they don't like these things as much after they jump the broom. Or,
Yeah, that's my point. I know a friend of mine who told me a story, and yes, she knows who she is because this is so she was dating this guy, and this is back in the early '90s when overalls were the hip hop and all this other stuff.
I used to
So
like
the
that look.
guy, yeah, the guy was doing was in the overalls and stuff like that, and that wasn't her thing, but she decided to do the overalls with the wife beater and all this other stuff.
That was my look.
And it was like, and that wasn't her thing, and she didn't like it. But she told me I did it because of him.
Boy, it's sexy though.
It is sexy. I mean, you can do it every once in a while just because, but you don't make that your stick. You sit there and say, "Yo, I'm doing this for you, but this ain't me. This is not me. Don't expect this all the time." That's cool. I understand that because everyone, when you're in this love for war, this love tug of war thing, you sometimes do things outside of your norm to make your partner feel validated, to make your wife or your husband feel loved. Because we're two totally separate people. Love is about the journey of two people, not merging into one or that bullshit. Uh, so you do things that's outside your character.
Okay.
But that stuff should not be your overarching identity where the other person actually believes that's who you are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. I guess the reason I'm a little hesitant in speaking on that is because I'm thinking that using that example that you gave, and I don't think men think of it as seriously as women do. Like, if a woman says, I want you to wear this, or I think you look good in this, I think you smell good in this, men don't usually take that as you're changing the essence of who I am. Whereas if a man makes a suggestion, sometimes it'll lead to that you're changing who I am and I lost myself. I never thought in a relationship, and I've dated some women who were very strong in their opinions about who I should be, what I should wear, who I should be and what should I wear, things like that.
Ooh, that's a whole
And
different conversation.
even at times when I've pushed back, and if it's something that doesn't, like, if they're not like asking me to, like, shoot, um do something just crazy, I'm open to it.
hold,
If it appeals to you, I'm
hold on.
with it. And I
Hold on.
never thought, what's up?
Let's go back to our very first podcast. If you asked me to put the toilet seat down, Michael would do it.
Yeah, yeah. But see, that's just the thing. But if you're like telling me, like, if you like to see me wear overalls, which would be weird,
Mm.
um if that'll get me some, if that'll get
See, and there we go, right there.
if that'll
There
give me
we go.
some, if that'll give me some sex, I'll do it, no problem. Never once did I ever think that a woman might have been trying to change me, but I never thought in a relationship that I lost myself in that relationship. But that's something that seems to be a thing with women. And they could be doing the same things, but and it's funny because oftentimes women are a lot more demanding, aka nagging, in relationships. But still, in that, I've never heard a man say, he tried to change me and I lost myself and I need to get myself back and I blame you for this.
We're not doing that shit.
Yeah, yeah. So, and even in cases where I have heard that, I think I saw a movie where that happened or something like that, and dude was mad at his woman for changing her and for changing him and all that. It was a choice you made. And
Exactly.
yeah,
You made that choice. But
yeah.
the one thing I would think you hit on something that's very important. Uh, why would you? I mean, I disagree with the notion of you should not change people in relationships. There's certain things that has to change because you are two different people and you have two different love languages. So therefore, in order to adapt those love languages to make a fulfilling relationship, you have to change. You don't, but the nuance of it is you don't change the core person.
Yeah, I was about to say it's what you change.
Yes. So I think a lot of women have this idea that, okay, I like Michael, but Michael isn't exactly what I want, but I know I can change him. I know you've heard that many times.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, but we're not talking about the surface, superficial stuff. We're talking about changing the core of who you are. You don't do that. If he's not what you want in the core, you need to go find some other guy, not try to sit there and Frankenstein this guy into something that you think will be more compatible with you because of whatever you want to extract from him, because that means you don't really love him.
But see, that's why the overalls was a good example. And that's why the thing when I mentioned like people losing touch with their friends were good examples, because those aren't things at their core that you're asking them to change, but they'll resent you for it sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
even though they're not core things. And it's like, you had a choice in this. And it's like, um, if a man tells you, I don't want you talking to your friends, that's one thing.
That's a
But
red flag.
oftentimes with the friend thing, women choose not to hang out with their friends as much once they get in relationships and get married. And I never understood that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're resentful for it when they get divorced and stuff like that, and they don't have any place to go. And it's like, he kept me from my people. And it's like, no, he didn't.
No, he
Or
didn't.
if he had you like wear something, it's like, hey, if the benefits work out, I don't see what the big deal is. So
But I think going back to the overall thing, because like I said, we're talking about two separate things. How you described it, yes, that's fine. that's fine. As long as you don't try to adapt that type of lifestyle and mentality to think that's who you are when it's really not. Now, if it, like you used the video game example, if you want to try something new, say, oh, I never thought about that. Let me see if this, this look actually looks good on me and blah, blah. I get that. But when you intentionally try to do it just because you're trying to please him and it's more than one instance, that's fraud.
Yeah, I'll try things because you have to kind of like you have to be flexible.
Yes, you
I'll
do.
try things, but I think it's fair to say I don't like this.
Because
And
trust me,
I'm not going to keep doing it just because he wants me to, because that's not sustainable.
I'm not wearing flip flops.
Man, I hate flip flops.
Like I said, so
Man,
but you look at no, but I'm not wearing flip flops. But then no, I don't care how much sex you give me. I'm not wearing flip flops.
yeah,
Bottom line.
well, give me sex for it. I might wear them around the house, but
Nah, I ain't wearing
those things hurt. Those things hurt. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But kind of going back a little bit and kind of getting back on the original topic about the changes. All I'll say is this. This is one other thing that speaks to your point, Reggie. I listened to an interview with Megan Good once, and she
Mm.
talked about when she met her fiance, now husband, and she talked about how she was like, when you fall in love, you gain happy weight. And I think that kind of speaks to the point, because he, dude or whatever, liked you at this point. And that's what he liked. That's when he fell in love with you. That's what you were. And then because you were happy, you kind of stopped doing those things. In this case, going to the gym, and you gained weight because you were happy. So I think that's um indicative of the change that can happen, where a woman is just happy, so they stop doing the things they did to get dude.
Happy / comfortable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so going back to the original topic, well, I guess we've been on topic the whole time, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway,
we were. Like I said,
okay.
the happy versus comfortable, and all of a sudden, it's happy weight. But why can't you be happy going to the gym? You were happy going to the gym before you got married.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And I do believe that people, and unfortunately, I know this sounds like some women bashing stuff, but I don't want to hear it. Y'all know my reputation. But
Yeah,
in this
he
case,
like to defend y'all. He
it
likes to
it,
defend y'all.
it does seem like there are more women that will do things that aren't necessarily what they're about to get a man long term, and one of those is working out. And it does seem to be one of the things that slides once a
One of
woman
the
gets
things
married.
is the
And,
first thing that slides.
and I hear women in the background, men do it too. He had that pot belly when I met him and all that stuff. But I think if we're being honest, in the same way myself, I've said on many of these podcast episodes, men do X more than women. So I don't even want to hear that stuff about how I'm woman bashing. Women need to be honest and say that, okay, you might be an exception. Your husband might have gained 150 pounds, but for the most part,
I doubt that, but
for
go
the
ahead.
most part, in marriages, when we talk about the weight thing and changes in general, it's more women that change more drastically than men change. They both change, and a lot of that change is for not for the good, it's for the bad. But the more dramatic changes um, usually come from women.
Because let me actually try to, because I don't mind bashing women, but I will help y'all out on this one. If he met I'm a little bit less stringent on the weight thing than Michael is. If you're 5'6" and you 135, I met you. You have a 15-pound window up and down with me, because I have to adjust for that change. But at the same time, if you 150, you better be 150, because for the most part, you hitting 150 is because you freaking working out like a fiend.
No, no. Let me cut your wisdom on this one. And the reason is, okay, we talk about the weight because, as we get older, there are obviously physical things that happen, things in the body that happen that will cause
Babies.
you to get, yeah, 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 that will cause you to gain weight. Here's my thing. If you were going to the gym 3 times a week and you are eating healthy, before we got married, okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to the gym 3 times a week and eating healthy after we get married and you gain 15 pounds, then you can say, well, I gained extra weight, but I'm doing the same things. And
Mm-hmm.
then we can have that conversation. But that's not usually the way it goes when
I was getting
talking
ready to go
about
there.
this
Yeah.
stuff. So
I was
yeah,
good. I was giving no
sorry.
no
I just couldn't let that pass when we
no
talk
no
about weight.
no. I was gonna go there. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna go there. And I'm a little bit less rigid than Michael is when it comes to the weight. Because like I said, I put that height thing in there. I put that height thing. If you 5'1" and you hit 150, we got some problems. But you
See,
5'6", 5'7", 150, you kind of fit. Now, when you start getting it up to my weight, 175, 180, well, I'm a fat boy now, 188, now we got some problems. You should not be, I have a strict rule. You should not hit that 20-pound range of me. So if I want 170, the highest you better get is 150.
but see, here's my thing on that though. You always you have this height and weight thing, and notice I always stay away from weight. I like facetiously talk about being 328 pounds. That's my number, but I don't really get into that because how I met you, if you were like thick or whatever proportion, and height and weight differs based on how your proportion, where the weight sits, things like that. My whole thing is when I meet you, this is what I liked. This is what I fell in. This is what I was physically attracted to. And when we talk about when people meet, the first thing you see is the physical. Deny it if you want to, but that's just what it is. What attracted me to you initially, and maybe even want to know what you had in your core and all that BS is what I saw.
I saw
What I
your
saw
happiness
with my
across the room.
and yeah, and people think that as you learn more about their core, you fall deeper in love with them. And while that's true, that doesn't mean that you sacrifice the physical and the physical matters less. They
True. I
both
agree with that.
still matter.
I agree
And
with that.
so yeah, so forget the height and weight. It's all about wherever you are. That's what I saw. And that's what it should be fair it should be fair for me to reasonably expect you to be that same type of person. And I expect you to be doing the same type of things that you did to get me to keep me. Now,
I, I'm different. I'm not going to say that. You need to. We talked about this in the podcast. You need to meet or exceed my effort, and that means that. When I say the height and weight thing, because you can be 5'7" and 150, but you can be built like one of these CrossFit people and shit like that. So we talk about proportions and the tone and all that other stuff, but at the same time, I'm going to, everybody hit height peaks and lows, yeah, peaks and valleys. There we go, and you're not going to be on your grind 100% of the time. So I get that. But at the same time, 75 to 85% of the time, you must always act as if you're on a first date trying to impress your mate. If you want to have a fulfilling relationship, you should not ever get comfortable. I have to stay on my grind to make sure that you find me attractive. You should do the same thing. So I totally agree with you.
yeah. And in the 5 minutes or so that we have left, I'll say and drop this nugget on women, just to give you a heads up. Consider this a gift from me to you, ladies.
My gift.
There are a lot of men that are afraid of marriage. There are a lot of men who will date a woman for 20 years and not even think about proposing to them. And part of the reason for that is because what we started talking about at the top of the show. When you evaluate married couples, um, they aren't necessarily happy on an equal level. It's like they might be happy to be with that person. They may never leave their wives or whatever, but when asked, they're not the same level of happy. And usually it is the husband that is more annoyed, that's tolerating the wife. It's more oftentimes more the husband who is complaining about the changes that his wife has made since they've been married. And that's just what it is. And because of that, that's the reason that a lot of guys are afraid of marriage because they know that when something happens and you get married, things change. And when they talk about, well, I don't know, I remember Sting, for example. Sting got married, and he said that the minute they got married, he was with his girlfriend for like decades. He got married and said, once we got married, things just went downhill. Why did that go downhill? Do you think it was because of him or because of her? Sting is the one talking about it, so I'm thinking it was because of her.
My thing is this, and it's two things. Me and my wife talked about this beforehand. For whatever reason, and even though I knew going in, it still was amazing. It's the expectation that we put on marriage. You could be in a relationship one day and everything's good, but the minute you get quote unquote married, that and nothing changed outside the fact you got that piece of paper, the expectations change. That's the first thing. The second thing is this, in my opinion, women see marriage as the end goal, not the beginning of the race. Once you get married, now the adventures start. And the adventure should be a fun, in my opinion, and how I see life. The adventure is the fun part of sharing your life with someone else that you have chemistry with. Uh, and that's the fun part. That's the adventurous part. That's what marriage should be about and how I see it. But in my opinion, marriage is the first end goal. The second end goal is our babies. And after that, it's like, okay, I'm just gonna live my life and just go watch Love Boat and stuff like that. Or, in my case, Mission Impossible, as I've been doing in COVID. And that's it. I'm not gonna do anything else. He should be able to take care of himself and all this other bullshit. That's not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, because and to that point, and this is kind of cliche to say, I've heard way too many people, especially women, because women talk about marriage more than men. But I've heard way too many women talk about marriage, to Reggie's point, as if it is the end goal. I don't hear as many people talk about how to sustain that marriage.
Exactly.
It's like the same way that you talk about your wedding day, you should be talking about, well, okay, here's what I'm going to do to make this work. Here's what I'm going to continue to do to make it work. And the thing about it is, I hear women say what we need to do.
Yes.
But
not
I
what
don't hear
they need to
enough of
do.
them say what I need to do.
Yes.
And as a man, as a woman, or whomever, I think that's what should dominate the conversation. Because if I'm saying I'm going to do this stuff to make this work, you're saying you're going to do this stuff to make it work, the we stuff is just going to naturally happen.
Well, I don't know about naturally, but it
A
would be a
little bit
lot
of
easier.
tweaking, a little bit of
Like I
tweaking.
said, because my thing is, I'm getting married and I'm looking long term. Okay, how can I sustain this feeling right now, 25, 30 years from now?
Right.
And each date is a process to get to that 30-year mark.
Right. Right. And as we get close to it, I would challenge all women listening to this podcast that are married to go to your husbands and have an honest talk with them and be like, yo, here's where I am. My happiness is on a scale on a 7 in this marriage. Where is your happiness? And it would be interesting, even better, to be like, let's write it down. Don't tell me. We write it down and we like show the paper at the same time to see how happy we are. And if y'all not on the same place, then that's a problem. Now, also, it's a problem if you are in the same place and it's a 3. You're both at 3. Work too. But yeah, because I'm telling you all, I have conversations with these married men in ways that they will not have with you all. Because why, Reggie? Because they don't want to fight.
They don't want to fight. Unlike me, I will fight.
But just thinking because he comes home every night and he not bitching, that doesn't mean he doesn't have it in his heart.
Pretty much. So, and the two things that kill a relationship faster: contempt and resentment.
Yeah, because I tell you what, like I said before, and I'll reiterate this as we leave, as the music starts. There is no happy girlfriend, happy life. And I'll leave you all to think about why that is. Datingwhileadulting.com. Go check it out. Thanks for listening. Say goodbye, Reggie.
Bye, Reggie.
All right, we're clear. I'll be interested in listen back to that one.
No, we're not.
Huh? What do you mean?
I still got recording.
Oh, no. Remember, I'm like keeping it a little bit for the after show if we have anything else to say on it.
Okay, after show.
Yeah, which we don't necessarily have anything to say on it, but
Oh no, we do. I mean, I think I mean is that I mean. I remember I still do this to the extent. Tenrock, are you happy? And she gives me, I'm happy. And I ask, why are
Ken
you
Rock is his
happy?
wife.
Yes. And I said, why are you happy? And I just am, is there anything that you need me to do to make sure that this thing sustains? No, you're fine. And I sit there and look at her like, okay, but I have a whole laundry list. And you're going to sit there and say everything that I'm doing is cool with you? Everything. That's unrealistic. But I accept it because that's what she said. But it goes to the fact that, the disconnect between how women see marriage and how men see marriage. And it's like, okay, well, I'm happy just what you're doing right now. You don't want any tweaking, nothing, nothing. Really?
I would be curious in that situation to find out, okay, if there's nothing that I can do that'll make things better, what are you liking about what's happening now? Like, what am I doing now that's great? Because if you don't have any changes to make, at least if you tell me what I'm doing that you like, okay, I can emphasize those. At least I'll know not to slip in this area or this area or this area versus just like, okay.
Well, I get oh, you're fine. And I'm like, really? What the fuck?
And just a little note for people that's watching on YouTube. This is on this we sometimes after that we're recording and stuff like that, we'll stop the recording. So on the downloadable podcast that you'll listen to in your car or whatever on your phone, you won't get this conversation. But this is something because there are no time limits on YouTube. We just talk shit and whatever
Yeah,
until we're done talking shit.
pretty much,
So,
yeah.
but yeah, but
But
yeah,
no, like I said, I don't think, like I said, I honestly believe because women would do anything and everything to get married, anything and everything. And I'm not gonna say it's malicious because I don't really think it's malicious, but it is a lie, and it is intentional.
I
And
think
I'd say I get their end goal. They want to be married. Now the other question is, why do you want to be married so badly? What is marriage to you? Because is it? I mean, we talked about this stuff all the time about okay, the wedding is the greatest thing in the world.
yeah.
But nothing you don't do any planning outside of having babies once you have that ceremony.
Yeah. And I think part of it is that we as men don't really like hold them accountable for it. We don't demand things because it's on us to be the chivalrous ones and to break their walls down and all of that. So like I said before, once the walls come down and we see that we're not really getting as much as we're giving, we don't we've just been suckered into thinking that that's just the way it's supposed to be. We have been suckered because we're men that in relationships, in marriages, we're just supposed to naturally just do more.
That's that whole providing. I talked to my wife about this, and that whole providing versus nurturing stuff. And I'm not going to get into the whole Christian virtues and that stuff, but I think it's BS because I think it's one sided. I'm more of a balanced person, trying to get to that balance aspect. I think both need to do both providing and nurturing, and because most men, there are women out there who are unhappy in their marriage because they don't get the emotional support for their men. But we're being programmed to not give that. We're just being programmed, particularly in Western society, to provide, which means financially. As long as you have a roof over your head and the bills are getting paid and the tow truck ain't coming to get your car, you're cool. All the other BS, I don't have to worry about.
I don't think it's just I don't think it's just financially. I think it's in other areas too. If something's broken, you're responsible for fixing it. If the grass
True.
needs cut, you're responsible for cutting it. If you can just go down the list. There's a whole lot of things that fall under the category of providing that men are just responsible for, as opposed to a woman, because women don't have any responsibilities. And we mentioned cooking, but women don't cook anymore. So
So yeah, what exactly do they provide us?
and they've tricked
outside of babies? And that's a very contentious conversation because if you was to really ask 100 men, did they really want kids? I wonder what that number would actually be.
yeah, and they've tricked us into thinking that they don't like sex and they're just doing that for our benefit.
Exactly.
So in a lot of
So,
ways, they've just kind of worked us.
and like I said, so what, in all honesty, what's the reason to even be married? I mean, I told my therapist that if anything happened to me and my wife and I was out in the single world like you, I would never be emotionally attached again, because what's the point? I'm too old to have babies. And what's the point of being married again when I'm not going to get what I want? I just, only thing I need is sex. And every once in a while, go watch a Marvel movie.
Oh, and that was the whole idea behind the conversation, because it just seems like um, women are telling me you should get married, and it's like, why your husband's not happy? It's like, it just seems like single people are happier on the whole than married people. It's like married people might have more comfort and security than a single person might, especially as we get older. But shoot, people trying to sell me on marriage,
Nah.
it's a short sale, because it doesn't seem like you get what you give.
You don't. I mean,
Yeah.
for the most part, most quote unquote good men, we can talk about that again too. Um, Good men are the ones, we define this real quick. Good men are the ones who actually are paying attention to their wives, their girlfriends, and try to give them what they believe is needed to sustain relationship. And unfortunately, a lot of those good men get taken to the hoop. That's my PSA. But at the same time, from being a good man and being attentive to your wife and your girlfriend and blah blah, what are we getting? What is our ROA?
I'll say a quote unquote good man, and that's a thing that we need to do. We actually did an episode on that, but it never posted because neither one of us liked it. So we need to redo that. But I think I'll just say a quote unquote good dude allows himself to be taken to the hoop, because we're all old enough that we have to make our own decisions. And if you're allowing someone to take you to the hoop, unless she's blatantly lying to you, um, you should be able to do an audit and like evaluate all that I'm giving versus what I'm receiving. And
Yep.
if those don't equal up, you need to evaluate whether you need to be in that relationship or what you're going to do about it. And then after that, if you decide to stay, that's on you, my brother.
Yeah, but like I said, the first I'm a little bit more lenient in the fact that first you need to have that talk and that conversation, and if that conversation goes sideways, then you do what Michael said about that. Okay, we're doing this audit. I'm not getting what I want. She doesn't want to give me what I want. I expressed it in these terms. I wrote it down. I skywrited all that crap. She put him and said, "No, go fuck yourself." Then, if you stay, that's on you.
Yeah, and that's the other thing about marriages, that people that I've spoken to that are married and stuff like that. If you were married for like 10 years, for example, it doesn't seem like it was like 9 years of bliss and things went off the rails for like the last year or the last 6 months or whatever. It just seems like it was just a long slog of misery.
But my thing is, it goes back to what I mentioned in the proper video podcast. Why are people getting married in the first place? What are the expectations? What for this particular union? What are you expecting? And a lot of people do not. Hell, they don't plan their life in the first place, so they don't go in with expectations and stuff like that. Of okay, this is what I need in order for this to be successful. We do that in every aspect of life,
Yeah.
except for relationships.
I agree. I agree. And that's because, in my opinion, is because so many of you people, you,
You people.
Reggie, you all don't define that stuff in like a contractual type of way. You all rely on chemistry
Hold on,
and, and, and these.
but no, buddy. I gave my wife the whole 15-point list along with the chemistry. So
I'm
no,
just,
you can't say you people.
I'm just
You
saying.
sound like tropical thunder right now. You people. What do you mean, you people?
Yeah, get my black face on.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, it just seems like people, when it comes to love, and we're talking about love because we're talking about marriage, hopefully there's love involved.
Hopefully.
But it's
Sometimes it's
like,
financial agreement.
yeah, a lot of people, when they talk about love, it's just like, well, things should just magically work, instead of being like, okay, let's list out all of these things and make it as, me being a logical person, let's make this mess as direct and straightforward as possible, because we both want to make this work. And just saying we love each other that's not enough. And now people say love is not enough, but they just say that as like a slogan. I hear so much shit that's said nowadays. This is like catchphrases or slogans like that shit. I
What
want a man.
love is not enough, and what love is a choice. No, the fuck it's not.
Love is a choice. Now we had that argument.
Love is not a choice.
We had that argument.
Like I said, this goes back to the cold chemistry thing. Because like I said, there's some people that fits my boxes, all my boxes. She's educated, she's this, and this. And I'm around her, but like, I don't feel a damn thing from you. Yes, I still fuck you, but I don't feel nothing about you. Get the fuck out of here.
But people were still watching. First of all, thank you for still watching. But second of all, we got into this big argument about love being the choice. And even though I don't think it was the best episode, that is an episode that is coming up sooner rather than later. And of course, we disagree about love being the choice or not.
The choice is the fact that you stay or not. Love ain't the choice.
Should have said that mess during the episode.
Yeah, I know, for real, right?
Right. And just to give you all a preview, Reggie was getting into all of the deeper types of love and all this shit. And I'm just like, dude, is it a choice or not?
But no, I'm like the whole Golden Han, Kurt Russell thing. Every day you reaffirm that you want to be with this person because you love them. However you two decide you want to define what love is, you two decided, and each day you work that. Going back to our original podcast, that's what marriage is supposed to be about. Each day you reaffirming, or in the book I just read about in Praise of Love, you keep reinventing what that is. You need to come to agreement on that. Come to terms with that. Write that shit down. Put that shit on the refrigerator. Not just float through the world like, oh, the universe is going to fix it because I love you. That biochemical hormonal stuff going to fade unless you keep injecting some passion, some desire into it.
Yeah. No disagreement on that. I tell you what, I just wonder, and we need to wrap this up, but I just wonder if loneliness and children weren't factors in these decisions. I wonder how many people would actually get married. It's interesting.
Yeah. I'm actually trying to do that for myself, and finding the right person, I would still get married. But boy, the problem is finding the right person.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And as I think most people will attest to, that is easier said than done.
Boy, is it.
Yeah. And yeah, when talking about slogans that are just used as cliches without any meaning, and Reggie said love is a choice, which I disagree with. I was thinking more like the stuff like, I want a man that's a leader. Well, what's a leader? Well, I don't know. I'm just waiting. It's like stuff.
I need a man to protect me. What damn saber-tooth tiger is coming around to eat you?
Protect you from what? Well, I don't know. I just want to feel protected. I don't know what that means. And it's like, I ask these questions time and time again and get no answers, but people just feel comfortable saying it. Nothing should come out of your mouth that you cannot explain.
I disagree with that,
but because you're on that chemistry shit.
I know that. Like I said, I'm on the metaphysical stuff, and so you're just crazy. But on the protection thing, in favor of women, I think it has changed. In Michael's defense about nothing should come out your mouth that you can't explain. You should have had a very long discussion with yourself to try to put these words, even though the concepts may not exactly match what you're trying to feel. You should have something. Now, going to the protection thing, I think the protection thing now has evolved into emotional protection. The fact that I can be emotionally vulnerable and safe with you. Granted, men want that shit too. We never say it out loud, but we want that shit too. But just to sit there and say, I want to be protected. Last time I checked, saber-tooth tigers died like millions of years ago and shit.
Okay. Well, my whole thing is, say that mess and metaphysical, whatever. Me and Reggie disagree on this, shockingly. But
Shocking.
I will say the last thing is, no.
You never just got around a woman and just tingled for no goddamn reason outside of lust?
Not outside of lust, no. I will say that everything that comes out of your mouth, you should be able to explain. And yeah. Yep, that's all I have to say. And let's get out of here. Dating while adulting. Thanks for staying. If you stuck around,
Yeah, because you're not gonna get this stuff on a regular podcast.
Yeah, you're not. And if you even want this stuff on a regular podcast,
Exactly.
But, all right. Yeah. Goodbye.
Goodbye.